So, all right, my scar is just here. It's just here in my neck, and it's very small. I got my scar from a biopsy I had in 2012 for a suspected tumour in my chest. It confirmed that I had stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma, and 5 days later I had my first session of chemotherapy. I was 25 at the time. I mean, it changed everything, the whole experience, but I guess the reason behind where this came from, it was really, probably the most traumatic day of all of it. I mean, at the time I didn't really feel sick. I had a bit of, I was having a few little nervy things, sensations in my arm for a little while, and a bit of, pain at night, but it just felt like I had a sore neck, really. But when I got the biopsy, it was a physical pain. These needles that they probe you with are, they're quite, I don't know the word for it, but yeah, these needles that they probe you with, they're huge, and they have to go through so many layers of tissue, and the reason why they entered there, usually they would go through the chest, but because the tumour was situated behind the lung, they had to be super careful. But they did use anaesthetic, but it fucking hurt. And I remember I went there with my dad's partner at the time, and because my mum lived away and my dad was at work, and I pretty much fell back into my parents' care, but so they took me there, and it wasn't Liz's responsibility, but she was there with me, and I remember holding her hand and looking back to her while the doctor looked for the piece of tissue. But yeah, it was just traumatic, and it was just the pain of it as well, and also going, what is actually going on? I'm very, I'm quite a claustrophobic person. I mean, this whole experience has even made me more claustrophobic after being probed with needles for another 8 months. But yeah, as far as how I got this scar, it's very small, but it didn't hurt any less than anything else on a physical, emotional, maybe even psychological level. It was quite traumatizing, and I just didn't know what was going on, and I was definitely thinking about what happens next, and I was moving day by day at the time. My doctor would call me every day after results would come in. So yeah, but to answer your question properly, it changed my life forever. But in stages, as I said, I was living in New York at the time, living there. I'd worked 5 years to get there. I got to spend 6 months there. And then after that, it was 8 years in a chair receiving chemotherapy, pretty much, sitting on the sidelines of life, not being able to commit or interact to my utmost potential at the time, because I didn't have the energy, and I was obviously committed to a treatment plan. But and then after that, it was another really messy 1.5 years of fitting back into society, and where do I belong? And I couldn't really go back to what I was doing before, because what I was doing before relied on an aesthetic that had changed, but also I was different, but I didn't realize that till a little bit later. But then, yeah, it really just, from that day where I got this, from that day when I got this scar, that was really the day where it all began. That it confirmed the thing that was happening, and that was going to determine that next chapter of my life. One time in particular that I remember going to work, I think my idea in the beginning was, I was so mortified that I had to not be a model for a little while, and not work as well. Like I was a really hard worker and committed to what I was doing, and it did have a greater purpose. But yeah, so in the beginning, I really wanted to keep working, and I did get a wig, and God, there were actually a few times now that I think about it. In the beginning, I cut my hair short, and then Cosmo did a story on me. They wanted to shoot me for an editorial, but found out I was sick, and then so they wanted to do a feature plus an editorial. So that's pre-wig, and I cut my hair short, maybe to where it is now. And chemo had started, and I didn't start losing my hair until 2 weeks in, but it was coming out, and everyone on set knew, but the hairstylist just went for it. And even though I told her to be gentle, and there was just hair everywhere. I don't think my hair was blow dried harder on that job than it has, it was ever before wrangled with. But like, there was just hair going all over the fashion editor's apartment. We were getting ready, and I wasn't embarrassed, but I was just like, can you not? I was really just trying to hold on to every strand, because that's what I was most scared about as well. It wasn't all about not working. It was definitely a physical part of that, was I can't lose my, I identify, I think as humans and as females, we identify so much with our hair. It is part of our identity and how we see ourselves, and I don't discount the way that we take pride in our appearances. It's a thing, and I'm not going to pretend that didn't scare the shit out of me, that it was falling out. But yeah, so there was just hair everywhere, and that whole day, like you can see in the shoot, I go back and look at the images sometimes, and it was really falling out then. And then later on, I did get a wig, because I couldn't work with the scraps I was really left with in the end. And but even then, I did 2 jobs, and it just, after both of them, it just wasn't worth it. I was progressively getting more and more sick. As I said, I didn't really feel sick when I got diagnosed or was diagnosed. I became, really sick and weak with the chemotherapy. I guess it's because it was caught in such an early stage, but that would have changed should it have been caught at, But yeah, I just decided, I did 2 jobs, and I said, it's just not worth it. I didn't, I cared less and less about keeping up my appearance, so to speak, in both my, the industry I was in, my reputation, and also, pushing the very little energy I had. I saw it for what it was, and it was just a job for me. It became, and, it wasn't important, and I was too sick, and I was, becoming more and more sad. And so with those feelings, you start to care a lot less and give less fucks. When I tell people my scar story, okay, that's different to show the scar. When I tell people my scar story, I forget it happened, to be honest. It's like, it's coming up to my 5-year-old clear. Actually, tomorrow I find out whether I have, I've completed my 5 years of remission. But yeah, as I said, it's a short amount of time, but it's not like I've really hammered and life and made up for lost time since I was set free from that whole experience. But so I've done a lot, in those 5 years, even though I sat on, I was sitting down for 1.5 years of them. So there's so much has happened, and so I really moved on. But yeah, so when I tell my scar story, I definitely, it's like, oh yeah, I went through that. I did. That's really crazy. At the time, God, it just seems like another lifetime. But I think about it and I'm proud of myself, and I feel like it was such a blessing, even though, you know, I'm very grateful to, you know, still have my life. So I say that with the utmost respect, that you know, I'm a survivor. So, but it really was you know, the most enlightening time of my life, and it changed me for the better. And I don't feel like everyone needs to go through this to learn the things that I needed to learn and go through, and the way I needed to change my life. But it needed changing, and unfortunately, you know, this is what you know, this is how it looks like for me. And yeah, I'm just like, I do, as I said, I definitely forget about it, but when I tell people my scar story, you know, I give myself a bit of a pat on the back and take, you know, I'm a little bit easier on myself. Yeah. Okay. When people tell me they've been through pain, I definitely remember mine. I do like to talk a lot when I'm given my soapbox, but I try to let them speak first. Or not even, you know, I'm trying this thing lately where I don't even have to speak about it at all. You know, there's a time and a place, and it's definitely in the past now. It's 5 years ago. Even though, like, you know, how it changed my life, those things are still prominent and present and ongoing. But when people tell me they've been through pain, yeah, I let them take the microphone, and I'll offer what I can, and if they want to know more about me, you know, that's when I'll speak up. But yeah. Scars to me are just little memories, I guess, that can hold little or a lot of weight, or they're like little like photos in a photo album, and our body is the photo album, and remember this, and then remember the ones, you know, falling over at soccer, and then remember, you know, so they carry lots of different meaning and weight. But yeah, I would say they're little memories or reminders of our humanity. Is that the word? No, not, they're just reminders that we're, you know, like, sorry guys, I'm trying to think of the word. They're reminders of like how we're, you know, human, and we're like, you know, we're all beautiful. I'm not joking, stop it. Like how, like, we're not perfect, and that's great, because, you know, we're here to experience life and all that it throws at us, and they're, you know, they're very grounding as well. I think they bring us back to, you know, who we are and where we've been, and honouring that, and yeah, they're beautiful. They're like little like photos in a photo album, and our body is the photo album.